President George H.W. Bush will take flight once more. The casket of the former president will depart Houston via Air Force One and arrive here in Washington, where he will lie in state in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda until Wednesday. Across the country and around the world, a president most remembered for his humility is being honored with praise from his former colleagues.
After Desert Storm, the American people were so overjoyed as to how quick the war went and how well our soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines performed that they wanted to celebrate it with parades. He wouldn't go. He said, this is something that belongs to the troops, to you.
To our nation's allies like Germany, who tout his diplomacy and ability to keep the peace after the fall of the Berlin Wall.
He is the father or one of the fathers of the German unification, and we will never forget that.
His predecessor, President Bill Clinton, remembering their friendship and sharing the letter Bush Sr. penned for him when he left office in 1993.
I wish you well. I wish your family well. Your success now is our country's success. I'm rooting hard for you.
Bush spent his final hours on the phone with his children and in the presence of friends like former Chief of Staff Jim Baker.
He opened both eyes. He looked at me. He said, "Hey, Bake, where are we going today?" And I said, "Well, Heffy," I said, "we're going to heaven." He said, "Good, that's where I want to go."
His final words to George W. Bush, "I love you." President Bush will be buried in Texas at the Presidential Library alongside Mrs. Bush. CBN News correspondent Jennifer Wishon now with a look at his life and marriage of 73 years.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
The 41st Commander-in-Chief left his mark on nearly every area of government as president, vice president, ambassador, director of the CIA, and member of Congress. Later in life, he even affected fashion trends by sporting his trademark funky socks and endeared himself to Americans by pulling stunts like this.
How'd it feel? Cold.
Does it have to push you out?
Jumping out of planes came natural to Bush. On his 18th birthday, he enlisted in the military, and when he received his wings, he was the youngest pilot in the Navy. During World War II, he flew 58 combat missions. On his last, he was shot down by Japanese fighters. He ejected, crashed into the Pacific Ocean, and was rescued by a U.S. submarine. In 1980, he lost the nomination for president to Ronald Reagan, who made him vice president, a position that gave Bush an intimate look at the rise of conservatism in America.
His presidency in many ways was overshadowed by his predecessor, and that's understandable.
It's hard to forget these words, which helped catapult him to the White House in 1988.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
But breaking that pledge led to his loss to Bill Clinton in 1992. In his inaugural address, he painted himself as a traditional man who valued hard work, discipline, and goodness.
My first act as president is a prayer. And I ask you to bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we bow our heads and thank you for your love.
In 1996, he crossed paths with CBN, helping to commission the ministry's Flying Hospital.
He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live.
In April, Bush lost his beloved Barbara. Their union of 73 years is the longest presidential marriage in history. The couple had 6 children, and throughout hardship and triumph, the Bushes made family their priority. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.